This is your one-step equations application 1 student notes. I'm going to go through everything. Please make sure that anything I write down, you write down on your paper and follow along. All right, starting off, it says remember the questions to ask yourself as you solve real-world problems. What information are you given? What are you solving for? Does your solution make sense in the context of the problem? So the first thing we're going to do is practice setting up an equation for each of the situations below, not solving them. Okay, so just figuring out the pieces and parts in order for us to be able to solve. Number 1, the average cost of a school lunch today is $4.35, which is $2.85 more than the average cost of a lunch in 1990. What was the average cost of a school lunch in 1990? So we're going to do a couple things. We got to figure out what does the variable represent, because there's something that we don't know. We've got to make an equation, and we've got to fill in these boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split this bottom box into 2 pieces. Okay, because we've got 2 pieces, and then the top box will be our total. We know that the total average cost for a school lunch today is $4.35. We also know that that's $2.85 more than the average cost in 1990. Okay, so $2.85 plus something that we don't know has to add up to our total today for $4.35. So what does this X represent that I just drew? This X represents the cost of a school lunch in 1990. Okay, so we're going to write cost of lunch in 1990. Okay, so our equation is our cost of lunch in 1990, which is X, and then we'll have to add those $2.85 to get to today's total, which is $4.35. Okay, so that's it for problem number 1. We're reading these problems, figuring out the pieces and parts, and deciding what our equation is going to be and what that unknown value represents. All right, problem number 2. It says, your little sister is too small to stand on the scale. You decide to get on the scale holding her and find your combined weight to be 112 pounds. You know that you weigh 94 pounds. How much does your little sister weigh? Okay, so we know all together between the 2 girls, we are 112 pounds. Okay, so let's split this up into 2 pieces because there's something we know and there's something we don't know. We do know how much the older sister weighs. Okay, she weighs 94 pounds. So right now we're just trying to figure out 94 pounds and the little sister's weight has to equal a total of 112. Okay, so what does that variable represent? What is this unknown? The little sister's weight. Okay, we can put the weight of Lil Sis. Okay, we don't know how much she really weighs right now, but we do know that in order to figure out how much she weighs, we would do her weight plus the sister's weight to get the total. Okay, so our equation is going to be X plus 94 equals 112. And what you could do if we had to solve this problem is subtract 94 from both sides so that X is by itself to figure out how much the little sister weighs. All right, now we've got a couple problems that are going to look like this, where we're going to practice setting up an equation and solving. Okay, so we're going to look for things that we know, things that we need to know, what our game plan is and show our work, and then our final answer. So the charge for a microwave repair was $81.21, including tax. Okay, so we know our total to get our microwave fixed was $81.21. Write that down. If the tax was $6.70, then how much was the repair? So we also know how much the tax is. The tax was $6.70. Okay. But the question says, how much was the repair? That's what we don't know. That's what we need to know. How much the repair was. Okay, so our game plan, I could make one of those little charts like there were in our other problems up top. We know our total altogether was the $81.21. We know that the tax was the $6.70, and then we don't know how much the repair was. So we know that our equation would be $6.70 plus X equals $81.21. So to get X by itself, to figure out how much the repair was, we've got to subtract $6.70 from each side. One minus 0 is 1. I can't do 2 minus 7, so 1 becomes a 0, 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. Bring down my decimal point. Can't do 0 minus 6, so 8 turns into a 7, 0 turns into a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4, and 7 minus nothing is 7. So the repair cost $74.51. Okay, take a minute, write that down. If we need to pause the video, that's fine. All right, flipping to the back, we've got 3 more problems to figure out all of our little details and solve, and then we're done with our notes. So, number 4, according to CBS, the average cost of a Super Bowl ticket in 2010 was $3,509. I'm going to write that down. That's something we know. A 2010 ticket was $3,509 for the average cost. That's crazy. This is $441 less than the cost of a 2015 ticket. Okay, so in 2015, the ticket cost $441 more than in 2010. Okay, that makes sense because as the years go on, things get more expensive. So in 2010, it was $441 cheaper, but 5 years later, it's way more money, okay? And that's just the average cost. There's people that are paying less, but there's a lot of people paying more than the average cost, which is nuts. So what do we need to know? We need to know the cost of a Super Bowl ticket in 2015. So, and a Super Bowl ticket cost in 2015. That's what we need to know. Okay, so if I make my little chart to help us, we know that in 2010, the average cost was $3,509. We also know 5 years later, the tickets on average are $441 more. So our X, our unknown, is the total cost for that specific year, 2015. Okay, so what you could do is X, our total that we don't know, minus $441 equals $3,509. So what we could do to figure out our next, or how much our ticket costs today in 2015, is add $441 to both sides. Okay, that goes away. So we're left with X equals 9 plus 1 is 10. So 0 carry the 1. 4 plus 0 plus 1 is 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. And 3 plus nothing is 3. Okay, so a Super Bowl ticket in 2015 cost $3,950. So I'll put 2015 ticket $3,950. That's a lot of money, folks. All right, go ahead and pause if you need time to write this down. Number 5, a fence surrounds 2 sides of a backyard. The total length of the fence is 86 feet. So total fence, 86 feet. The longest portion measuring 51.5 feet. That's a really long side of a fence. So one side is 51.5 feet. This is an interesting fence. What is the length of the second side of the fence? Okay. So I need to know length of side 2. So if I draw my little chart, that's pretty small. Let me make a new one. We know that whole fence is 86 feet long. We know that part of it is 51.5 feet, but we don't know how long is the rest of the fence to get us our total. Okay, so our equation is going to be x plus 51.5 equals 86. So you need to subtract 51.5 from both sides to get x. I'm going to make my 86, 86.0. Okay, can't do 0 minus 5, so change your 6 to a 5, 0 to a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4, and 8 minus 5 is 3. So side 2 is 34.5 feet long. Go ahead and pause that if you need time to write that down. Last problem. A skyscraper in Dubai is 2,722 feet high. A news station antenna in North Dakota measures 659 feet shorter than the Dubai skyscraper. How tall is the news station antenna? All right, we know that the skyscraper is 2,722 feet high. Okay. The antenna is 659 feet shorter. We need to know the height of A. Height of antenna. Okay. So we know our total is 2,722 feet. We don't know how tall the antenna is, but we do know that it's 659 feet shorter than the skyscraper. Okay, so we're gonna do x plus 659 equals 2,722. Subtract 659 from both sides. Go ahead and try and solve that on your own.